Hey, hello, welcome to All Things Golden, Colorado. Quick intro. My name is Brad Prince, and I'm a resident of Golden. I've been here for 14 years, and I recently ran for city council after having taught for roughly 26, 27 years. And I thought after running for council for Ward 3, one of my kind of platforms was to do more to reach out and communicate with the people that live in Golden, and I thought that maybe YouTube would provide a platform where I could do that. So I guess one of the things that I think is really important is that I will be primarily dedicating this this kind of platform to people that live in Golden. There's a ton of good videos on visiting Golden. And if you're a visitor to Golden or you want to know more about Golden, I would suggest that you, look at some of those videos, whether it's restaurants or things to do, things like that. And again, my goal is just to see if I can connect with more people or connect the city to more people in terms of kind of what's going on. I think primarily I will be looking at kind of what city council's doing, some of the big projects, some of the big events, and like I said, trying to give an objective opinion, as objective as I can be, about kind of what's going on in the city. So I did run in the most recent city council race. There are 4 wards in Golden, essentially 4 separate quadrants, I guess. There's northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest. And we have each quadrant has one person on council to represent that ward, and in addition there's 2 district people to represent the north part of the city and the south part of the city, so that's up to 6, and then the mayor is 7, so there's 7 people on city council. In this last election there was there were 8 people running for 4 ward seats. There was 1 person running in Ward 1, Emily Krasinski. And in Ward 2, there was Daniel Sung running against Gerhard Pfau. In Ward 3, there was Loretta Huff, Don Cameron, who's the incumbent, and me. And then in Ward 4, there was Brandon Furley and Sandra Connect. In Ward 2, it was a very close race between Daniel Sung and Gerhard Pfau. I met both of them. I thought they were both really great people. I think they both have the interest of Golden at heart. And Gerhard won by, I think, 13 votes, something like that. In Ward 3, in the race between myself, Loretta, and Don, Don won. Don, again, the incumbent. Don won with, I think we said 53% of the vote. I think Loretta got 35% of the vote, and I trailed with about 9% of the vote. And again, my experiences with both Loretta and Don were great. And then Sandra won in Ward 4 against Brandon Furley, who I never really had a chance to talk to, so I don't know that much about him. I will say that there does seem to be in Golden, I think that Loretta and Daniel Sung kind of represented the idea that that they would like to see Golden, as far as the city goes, city leadership, be a little more transparent. I think with the Heart of Golden project, which is a project where they're moving City Hall and the police department down 10th, so east of Ford on 10th. It was expensive, and I think the city did everything they could to get as much input from residents as far as that project went. I know there are a lot of forums and Q&As and opportunities, but it's expensive, and I could certainly see where some people would have liked to have seen, maybe a vote and how it was financed, or just more involvement. And again, I think that there are 2 different approaches towards getting more people involved. Some people just want to see the city reach out and have forums and communicate and reach out that way, and some people want to see something a little more substantial in terms of kind of definitive approval of a project like the Heart of Golden project. I do think that that was kind of evident in the election, that was kind of their kind of thought as far as like government. I think there was a element of government overreach. Like I said, I don't believe that. I think the government does a great job. The city leaders that I talked to were wonderful in terms of their approach, and I think their commitment to the city. But I do think it's probably appropriate. It's probably helpful to a city to have communication with different viewpoints in terms of how the city's running things. I think you have that line of communication only can improve the city. So I'm glad that Loretta and Daniel both brought that kind of perspective to the last election. I think it's very helpful for the city. So as far as some other things that I think are going on, I think that if you live on the north side near Fort Street, or you commute on Fort Street, I think that it would be very appropriate for you to get involved in some of the meetings that are going on in Fort Street. They're redoing it. I think it might affect parking or bike lanes or traffic, and I think that I think Fort Street in general, like I said, if you commute on it or you live near it, I would strongly suggest getting involved. I know that the city is trying to reach out and trying to get as much input as they can from the city, but if you get online, and I'll try to attach a link if I can to this video, there's a lot of different options. And like I said, I think that whether it's bump outs or bike lanes or parking or sidewalks, I think just the more people get involved, the better. As far as city council, I know that I watched one of the last city council meetings. I know Parks and Rec is put together kind of a master plan. I think that Parks and Rec is really doing everything they can to make the city better, and it's amazing how important that department is to the city. I had talked to the director of Parks and Rec at one time. He's relatively new, and he seems like he's very dedicated towards making some improvements in the city that probably need to be made. I talked to another person in Parks and Rec who also is very interested in seeing some kind of like the growth of participation. My suggestion was that we do a league, whether that's kickball or pickleball or softball, where the different wards are competing against each other. And that can be in the winter, spring, summer. And then at these kind of competitions, families would go support their ward and the people that are competing for their ward, and maybe the city can have booths or something like that to explain. I thought that would be a really great place to have a booth dedicated towards like the Fort Street revamp, in the same way they did that at the night out, the police night out that they did in the city a couple of months ago in the summer. So Parks and Rec was on there with their master plan. Like I said, it's very developed. I think it took a lot of work, and I think there's a lot of components of Parks and Rec that really are important. And so if you have any interest in that, I would do some digging. One thing I did learn during the election was that there really is quite a few organizations outside of the city and within the city, the Thriving Communities department in particular, that are really working towards trying to help with any of the food insecurities that people are struggling with, the housing insecurities, the cost of housing. And I think you see that City Council is certainly doing some really good work in trying to make lives better for the people that live in the city of Golden. Christmas events, this first weekend, I think it's December 5th and 6th, they've got a lot of things going on. In town, they have the walk in town. They have the lighting of the trees in town. That's always really fun. And again, look into that if that's something that seems interesting for you. I did a couple little things. The Peak to Plains Trail from Tunnel 1, they did finish that extension. It's about 1.5 miles up the canyon. It's great. I mean, I'm sure it was really expensive, but it's great. I walked it with my daughter. I biked it. So if you haven't checked that out, I don't know. I feel like it's such an amazing project that they're doing, and they'll continue to work on that. But another 1.5 miles up the canyon, which is great. And last but not least, I know this is gonna seem maybe a little trivial to some people, but I just saw that I was just at Whole Foods, and Whole Foods is moving to a new store this coming weekend, first weekend of December. So we'll see how that goes. It should be interesting. So again, This is a new YouTube video. Any questions that you might have? What I'd really like to see over the course of the next, I don't know, few months, maybe a year or so, is have people come on the show. Let's talk about some things. I would love to have Daniel Sung and Loretta come talk about kind of their perspective on what was going on with the city, in addition, maybe have some people from the community come on to talk about what's going on as the next few months go on, and that goes with anything kind of local, kind of driven, that's going to affect our community and the people that live here. I would like to have as much communication as I possibly can for that. So hopefully if I can get some viewership, that people will find it worthwhile. Like I said, I met people from the different departments: fire, police, the thriving communities, public works, finance. I mean, there's some great people that are working in our city. If you do appreciate the city and you're curious or interested, definitely reach out to me, reach out to the city. I'm going to keep my email address at bprinceforgolden@gmail. So if you get an opportunity, again, bprinceforgolden@gmail, and you want to have any questions, or you think, hey, you'd like to see some people kind of talk about the issues that they have going on, even maybe new businesses or perspectives on the housing market, or again, like any of the projects or events that are going on. I'd love to be a part of that. So thanks for listening, and I'll check in next week. Today is December 2nd. 2025, and man, the year's going quick. Okay, thanks. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.